All right, hi again. So in this video, we're going to go over making a basic page in Dreamweaver, basic HTML page, obviously. So we're going to go over making a page, the insert panel, and that'll allow us to go through a few things like the insert panel, the page properties, inserting an image, properties inspector, some HTML5 containers, how to link elements in Dreamweaver. Quick thing about Emmet. Not Emmet a person, but Emmet the technology, and intro to the CSS panel, and maybe some other things as well. So this is Emmet. If I forget to show you later, it is a kind of a plugin that you can use to generate elements or code or content even on your page with shortcuts. So we're going to try that out a little bit. Here's the page we're going to do, kind of a goofy little page. Something like this about the old main building from Mission College, and this is the second page, which is about the worst page you've ever seen as far as interest goes. But anyway, okay, so that's what we're kind of doing here. All right, so I'm going to Dreamweaver here. I've got it arranged with the Files panel open here, and my Common Toolbar over there, and the Properties panel is visible there. If you don't see this or want to change it, you can always go up to Window, remember, and you can get to Properties and things like that and arrange it how you want. You don't have to do it this way, but that's the way I have it. I also already have a site set up, which I probably gave to you for you to practice with on this one. And all it has in it is this image. And remember, you can do that under Site and then New Site and pick the name of the site and the folder and that kind of stuff. You should know how to do that already, hopefully. Okay, so there's nothing really in this folder except for the image, this image here. Okay, so let's go ahead and make a file. So I'm going to go to File, New, and I'm just going to use a blank new document HTML, no framework for this one. Just click Create. So it's just a plain old HTML5 document. And I'm going to save it right away so I won't forget, and I'm going to go to File, Save, or Command S, and I'll call it Page 1, and I'm going to save it in that folder I had on, mine was on the desktop, basic page video start, and there we go. So I saved it as page1.html. You can see it there, and then there's the image that we already had there. So I wanted to show you a few things as far as the insert panel goes. So I'm going to go over here to Insert. Here's Insert Panel. Again, if you don't see it, you can go to the Window menu and look for Insert. So the Insert Panel has a bunch of different categories. You have an HTML category, which is HTML elements, which we'll look at in a second. You have form elements, common form elements you put on a form. Templates is Dreamweaver only template elements. We'll probably see these in another video, but they're basically Dreamweaver specific, so I'm not sure they're used too awful much, but that's underneath there. There's also Bootstrap components, so you'll see this probably in another video too, but it has ways to insert common Bootstrap elements, which is kind of nice. There's also jQuery Mobile, which is a mobile framework that you can do for make web pages with, or mobile websites with, and even apps if you convert them over. And then here's jQuery UI, which is some elements that you can add using jQuery UI, like accordions and tabs and things like that. We may see that later as well. There's also a favorites category, which is blank, but you can right click here and go to customize favorites. I just right click there, or control click on a Mac or a PC. And you can pick different elements that you want to add to from this drop down here, or all the elements there, and add it to your favorite objects. And that way, if you wanted to reuse things very often, you could put it in your favorites, and they're very special to you personally. Okay, so but anyway, let's go back to HTML. I'm actually going to make this code a little bit bigger so to make sure you guys can see it. So remember, that's under Preferences, under the Dreamweaver CC menu. If I go to Dreamweaver and Preferences, or it's under Edit, I believe on a PC, I'm going to go to Fonts and change this to 16 points and see if that's okay. It's a little big, but hopefully that'll work out okay. Okay, so Underneath the HTML section of the insert panel, you have a lot of different common elements that you might see in a web page, like a div, image, paragraph, headings. Anytime you see the little arrow next to one of these elements, it means there's more underneath. So there's headings 1 through 6 there. They even have H group, which I don't think is now standard anymore, but it's still in there. Tables, figures, lists, different kinds of lists, links. And then these are the HTML5 elements, headers, navigation, main, aside, article, section, and footer. So we'll play with a few of those, I think. There's also a section for meta tags like keywords and description, and viewport for responsive design, which we'll see probably later somewhere. And scripts, you can add a script tag in there or an email link. And then there's also some media-based link or elements too, like HTML5 video, a canvas, which is JavaScript, basically a way to draw on the page using JavaScript. I don't know how much is in here, but that's what I think. It probably just puts a canvas tag in there for you. Animated composition, that probably is from, used to say Edge composition there. It's probably from Adobe Animate. They've changed the name of that product a few times, and right now it's Adobe Animate, I think. So you can embed animations in there that you create in Adobe Animate. There's HTML5 audio. There's Flash, backwards compatible Flash support for anybody that's still using Flash, and then Flash video. Plugin could be any generic plugin like QuickTime or something like that. And then rollover image, we may see that in a different video too, but it allows you to insert a rollover image using JavaScript, and that's underneath that HTML. I'm not sure why it's under HTML, because it's mostly JavaScript, but it's also HTML. There's also inline frames, horizontal rules, dates, non-breaking spaces, and then last down at the bottom, which they probably should have put it higher, is a character selector. So if you wanted to insert, let's say I click over on my page and I want to click on that drop down, and you can see there's a bunch of special characters there. So I just clicked on copyright, and it inserted the escape code entity, or the code for a copyright symbol, which is ampersand copy, and then it shows up that way. So you can do it that way. You can insert special characters there. They're not all there, but there's quite a few there, some of the common ones. And then if you go down to other characters at the bottom, you'll get lots of them. So that is in there as well. Okay, so that is under the HTML section, but remember there's other categories underneath there if you're looking for something else. Most of this stuff, if not all of it, is also under the insert menu. So if I go up to insert menu, you basically see the same thing, or maybe exactly the same thing as far as what's underneath there. Pretty much the same thing you'd see over here in this insert panel. So it's also under the insert menu if you don't want to use the insert panel. Okay, so first we're going to use a quick tag, the quick tag editor, to add something to the page, and then we'll start using the insert panel just to make sure you know how to do that. So I'm going to go ahead type Command T, or I'm sorry, yeah, Command T on a Mac, and it will be Control T, I believe, on a PC. And I get the insert HTML, and I'm going to add a div with an ID of wrapper. So I'm just going to type div and then ID equals wrapper, like so. And then what that does is it inserts a div with an ID of wrapper. That makes sense, huh? So there we go for that. So that's going to be our main container for the page. So now I'm going to insert some other elements using the insert panel, or maybe the insert menu item, but I'll use the insert panel probably. So I'm going to click right there. It's already selected for me in the middle of that. I'm going to add a header. So I'm going to go down to the section with HTML5 containers and click on header. And it asks where I want to put it at the insertion point, before or after certain tags, but I'm going to say it at the insertion point. You could also give it a class as you make this, or give it an ID as you make this. It will also show classes and IDs that it knows about in the file. We don't have any, so it's not going to show up. Or you could click on New CSS Rule to make a new CSS rule if you wanted to. But I don't really need to do that, so I'm just going to click OK. So I inserted a header that way, and it conveniently comes with some content inside of there to kind of mark that for you. Okay, so there's a header, And we're also going to add a heading inside of there by go ahead and click on this heading insert. Whoops, should have done that a little slower. So I've got that already selected there, so I'm going to go up here to where it says heading 1, and if it didn't say H1, I could just click on, or whatever heading I wanted to pick it. Remember, I can click this drop down, but it already says H1 there, so I just have to click on it. It's pretty easy to do. So I just did it accidentally again. So it says content for the new header tag goes here. So that's right there in set up for you already. So I'm going to go ahead and type my header now, and make sure this is selected. It's so I have that so I can type right away. And I'm going to say Mysteries of the Ancient Main Building by Mark Garrett. Yeah, that looks right. So remember, I can click over here and it should update that page. Yeah, that looks fine. So make sure you use your name, not my name, because that would be stealing. Okay, so I went ahead and put in a heading level 1 there with that heading in there. And now we're going to just insert some more things after that. So I'm going to go ahead and go below that header in the code view and hit return just to make sure I'm in the right spot. And now I'm going to insert some navigation. So I'm going to go over here to the right to my insert panel and click on navigation. And I'm not going to add any classes or IDs or anything. I'm just going to click OK, or I can hit enter to do that. And it go ahead and it added a navigation panel for me. And while I'm here, I'm going to put 2 links in there. So I'm going to go ahead and type it in into the code view. So I'm going to say Mission College and then a space and then the pipe symbol, which is underneath your delete key, and then I'll put page 2. And it looks about like that. So it's just a little navigation bar. Normally you'd probably do that, of course, with a list, but we're trying to be a little quicker here and do it that way. So there's my navigation panel that I wanted to insert, and then I'm going to go after that and add my main container, which is another HTML5 container. So I'm going to click main there and say OK, and that put in my main container, which is for your main content. And then I'm going to insert inside of that. I'm going to click an article. I'm going to see if this works without me touching anything. Yes, so I got an article inside of there. So here's my main tag, here's my article inside of there. And then inside of the article, I'm going to put a section. So make sure I have this selected here, that placeholder text, and click section, and that inserts a section. So you can see how you can kind of insert elements within elements pretty easily using the insert panel. And again, I could have done that over here too, right underneath the insert panel. Okay, so that is my section. Now that I've got the section in there, I'm going to add a little bit of content in that area. Actually, let's go ahead and finish below, and we'll come back to that. So after the section, I'm going to add another section. So I'm going to click here and hit a return and click on section, and I have a new section, and that's going to be the second section of our article. And here's where I wanted to show you Emmett, since we have a good section place to put it here. So I'm going to go ahead and select that, and I'm going to type Lipsum. And just the word Lipsum, it's short for Lipsum text, and then I just hit tab on my keyboard. And if this works right, it did. Okay. So tab, after I type the keyword Lipsum, that activates Emmet, which is embedded inside of Dreamweaver, and that will generate some lorem ipsum text for you. So it's a quick way to get that placeholder lorem ipsum text to show up on your page. I hit F5 on my keyboard to make that refresh, and now you can see it over here in my my design view as well. So I wanted to show you that before I forgot. And then I'm going to go below. So that's the end, I believe, of our article and our main content. And I'm going to go below that main now and add a footer. So I'm going ahead and click after main and put a return in there. And then I'll click on footer, and that adds our footer, just to show you how you can do that. All right, so we've kind of got the structure of our page there. We've got a heading area. We've got some nav here. We've got one section there, one section here, and then our footer there. If I go to live view, you can see what that looks like in a live view. All right, so let's go back up and add a couple of more elements and show you how you can do a couple of things as well. So I want to change the background color of this page. There's 100 ways, maybe 200 ways to do that. I'm going to do it using page properties. So that is under File in next to the Dreamweaver menu. Under File at the bottom, it says Page Properties. And this is left over from older versions of Dreamweaver, but it still works and it's fine to use, especially when you're kind of just fleshing out a page a little bit. So it has different categories: appearance for CSS and HTML, links, headings, title, encoding, and tracing image. So I'm going to go up to appearance with CSS, and I'm going to change the background color of the page. So all I have to do is click right here where it says background color, and then use the color picker to change the background. I'm going to pick like a light kind of tan thing or something. Something like that. Oh, it's kind of yellow, but it doesn't matter. Just pick a color there that you like and go ahead and hit return or enter, and it changed the background color there for me. I'm also going to change the page font. So I can go up here to default font, and I'm going to pick, what am I going to pick? I'm going to pick this one, Segoe. I'm not sure if you pronounce it that way even, but I'm going to say that's what it is. So yeah, so I changed the background color and the page font, and I can click apply and see what that looks like. Ooh, that's a pretty ugly color, but we don't care. We're just doing this as an example. You can also see that you could add background images and talk about the repeat and change the size of the text and margins and all that stuff there as well. Also going to go under headings under CSS and modify those. So under heading font, it says same as page font. I'm actually going to change that to Consolus, I think. So I just changed that to Consolus, which is at the bottom of the menu there. So that changes the headings to that font, and I'm also going to change the H1 color just to a different color. So I can do that over here, same as I did before. I'll just pick a different color, maybe a dark blue or something, or yeah, more or something like that, or whatever you want. So I just change that and I click apply, and you can see now this font has changed and that color of that text has changed to what we just picked there. So you can pick them for any heading or any color as well. So I could also modify the link colors and things like that here, but I'm going to leave that. You can probably figure that out. It's basically the same process. One other thing I was going to show you here is you can click on tracing image, and what this is a way to use if you had a mock-up or a comp that you wanted to use as sort of a guide for the page. You can click on tracing image and then browse for that image there, and you have to find it, you have to have it, right? And then browse for it and select it, and then you can adjust the transparency of it. And what it does is it will show up here in the design view. I believe it's in design view, but not in the live view. And you can see the image underneath what you're actually putting in as far as the page goes. So it's not really on your page, it's just a guide. You're using sort of a trace, that's what it is, a tracing image that you can use to help you lay out the page. If you want, it's completely up to you. But again, it's not really part of the page, it's just a helper kind of guide image if you want to use that. Okay, so I'm going to say okay. And if I look now in my code view, you can see that Dreamweaver added a bunch of CSS for me that I just, it wrote for me by me filling out the page properties. So that's pretty neat. You don't have to do it that way, of course. You could have typed all that or done it a different way, but yeah, it's pretty good. Okay, so let's get back to our content here. So we've got our two links. So I just wanted to show you quickly how links work here in the properties panel. So I'm going to link this Mission College text to the Mission College website. So I'm going to go away for a second and get the link for that. I'm back already, instantaneously. So I'm going to go down, I select that text there. I probably want to be maybe in the design view for this. It might work a little bit better. And I select that text and I go down to link there and I'll just paste it in. And let's say I wanted that to link to a new browser window, so I'm going to go down here and click on target. So the cool thing about this, I'm in the properties panel, by the way, right? And if you didn't see the properties panel, you can go to window and properties to see that. Also, it might be in the collapsed view. Sometimes it shows up kind of half this size. There may be a little arrow next to it that you need to click to see it, everything there. But yeah, if that shows up that way, you can click a little arrow that shows up. Okay, so obviously you can paste in a link to add a link, and I can pick target equals blank to have it open in a new browser window. You also have this thing called a pick whip, which sometimes doesn't show up correctly. We'll see if it does in a minute. Or you can browse for a file. So you have lots of different ways to pick links. The other thing that is kind of cool is if you start adding links within Dreamweaver, it will sort of save the recently used links that you've done. And if I click on this little drop-down arrow, you'll see them all in kind of a list there. I only have the one, so it's only showing me that one. Okay, so that is how we set that link. Let's make a link to page 2 as well. But we don't have a page 2 yet. So I'm going to go to Files, Files panel, and I'm going to right click on my site root folder and say New File. And I'll call this page 2.html. And I'm going to go ahead and double click that. And we have to put a little bit of stuff on there. So I'm going to type page 2. And I'll go down to the next line by hitting return. I just added a paragraph. And I will say go back to page 1. All right, so now we've got a little bit on page 2. So I just made that new file called page 2. I typed in page 2 and hit return, which gave me a paragraph. And then I go back to page 1. So I'm going to go ahead and save that again. Make sure it's saved, and I wanted to show you how you could modify the appearance of this page 1. So I'm going to select that paragraph. To make sure I have it selected, I can click on the P here in the tag selector, and you can see it's selected there as well. So down here in the properties, I can change that to something else if I wanted to. So I just clicked on Format and changed it to heading 1. So this properties panel is context sensitive depending on what I have selected. So if I have text selected, I'll see something different than if I have an image selected, say. So it's pretty useful that way. And it also lets me do basic formatting, like turn text into lists and things like that, and other things as well, add links and things like that. So I just changed that to a heading level 1 under there. I can also go under the edit menu and click on that, and I can go to paragraph format down here at the bottom and change that to a heading level 2 if I wanted to. So that's under edit and paragraph format, and the same things that are in that properties panel are down there as well. I'll go back to a heading level 1. So that's underneath there. And I can also go to paragraph format by right clicking, and I get those same options there. So there's lots of ways to do things, obviously. It's actually easy to forget how many different ways there are to do things. Okay, so I've got page 2 there. Now I'm going to link back to page 1. So make sure I save this again. I'm going to select where it says go back to page 1. And I could type in page 1 here, or I could browse for the file right here. But I'm going to try the point to file, the pick whip thing here. Go ahead and click on that. And then drag to page 1. And it did work. It shows page 1, but I didn't see the pick whip. It's kind of a redraw problem that it has sometimes. But it did work. If I undo that, Command Z, you see there's nothing in the link there. Click on this little guy here. Pretend there's a line. It's an invisible line. You drag it up right on top of the page you're trying to link to and let go, and it should add that. So it actually did. It just wasn't showing me the pick whip. And it's a kind of a weird redraw thing. So now I have a link back to page 1. You can see there it is right there in the code. So I didn't have to type any of that stuff. I just dragged that over there. All right, I think that's fine on that one. So I'm going to go back to page 1, and I'll link to page 2 from here. So I'm going to select where it says page 2. This time I'll browse for it. So I'm going to go down to the link area of the properties panel, click on browse for file, and there is page 2 there. Click open, and I did it that way. So we did it 3 different ways. You could type in or paste into your link field. You can use the pick whip, or you can browse for the file. Okay, I think that is that. So let's do a little bit more on with the insert panel. I'm going to select where it says content for the new main tag. I think that's our first section, yeah. It's actually inside of a section. It says content for the new main tag goes here. I'm going to select that, and I'm going to go back to my insert panel, and I'm going to click image. And I'm going to select the image that I have in the folder for you guys. It's just this image of the old building. Click open, and you can see it insert that image for me, including the path, the height, and the width is already in there, and the alt is in there. So now if I click over here, you can see down in the properties panel has changed. So you can even see a little, you're probably hard to see there, but you have a little thumbnail of the image. You could give it an ID if you want. You could link it if you want. You could give it a class if you want. There's the height and width. You could change that if you wanted to. Probably don't want to do that, but you could. There's also some basic editing in here in the properties panel. We'll probably see that in a different video. You can turn it into an image map down there, all kinds of things. You can even add the alt attribute. So I'm going to go over here to alt and say main building. Remember, the alt is for your alternative text, which is supposed to describe the image. So I just typed main building in there, and all it did was add this. I could have typed it up here as well, but same result. Okay, so that's pretty cool. So I just inserted an image. Of course, I could move this around in the site panel, so or in this, in the site, in the files panel if I wanted to. I'm going to create an image folder, which is pretty typical. So I'm going to right-click on the root folder and go to New Folder. Call it Image or Images, because there might be more than one. And now I have an Images folder. What I'm going to do now is take that image and drag it into the Images folder. As soon as I do that, I get that Update Files dialog that says, hey, you're moving this file. It's on page 1. Should I change the path for you? Yes. I'm going to click Update. And now the path in your code says images / and then the file name, because it knows you moved it into the Images folder. So there it is up there in the Images folder now. So remember, you can do that, move things around, and Dreamweaver will help keep track of where your links are, so things don't get broken. Okay, the last two things I wanted to do, or a couple things, is just to modify this page a little bit using the CSS panel. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select my wrapper in the tag selector down there, and I'm going to go to the CSS designer panel, which we'll probably see in another video as well. But this is where you can visually edit some of the CSS that is involved with your page. So I clicked on CSS designer panel. Make sure I'm in the all mode instead of current, and I will see my sources there. So I'm going to click on style, and that means, since it looks like a style tag, that means it's talking about these styles up here, these embedded styles in the head. Right there, that starts with style right there. So this is talking about this. So I click on that, and then I'm going to go down to selectors, and we've got to make sure I have my wrapper selected again. Just click anywhere in the page and then click on div wrapper. And then down here under selectors, I'm going to click on plus next to selectors, and it adds pound wrapper, because it knows since I selected wrapper over here, it's thinking, well, they probably want to make some rules for the wrapper, which I do. So it kind of figures that out for me. I'm just going to hit enter, and it added. Did it add anything yet? Yes. Here's the beginning of it. So you can see it says pound wrapper. That's an ID, but it doesn't have anything in it yet. So I'm going to go ahead and click back on this, because I clicked off when I showed you that. And I'm going to go down here to the properties. You have a checkbox here that says show set. If that is checked, you won't see anything because nothing is set for that selector, but if I uncheck it, I can add some things. So I'm going to go ahead and change the background color of the wrapper. So I'm going to click on this fourth button here, which is background, and then there's background color. It says undefined. I'm just going to click on that and then choose white, which you can just do by sliding all the way up here to the top left. And hit enter, and that's white. So now the wrapper now has a white background. I'm also going to change the padding a little bit. If I go to live view, you can see that now that there's a white background up here on the wrapper, the text is right up against the edge of that. So I don't really like that. So let's say I wanted to change that. I'm going to go over here to the, make sure I have that selected again. There we go. I'm going to go over to the wrapper again, and I'm going to click on layout. Well, now it's not letting me do it. I'm going to go back to design. There we go. You might need to be in design view for that. I keep switching back and forth. So now I'm in design view, and I've got the wrapper selected, yes, and I've got the wrapper selector selected. That's weird, selector selected. And then I go over here to the first button, which is layout, and if I go down a little bit, I should see padding. Yes, there it is. So it says padding. I could click on any of these to set a padding on the different sides, but it says set shorthand here. Just going to click in that and type 1 EM, which is 1 EM unit, and hit enter. And now I have padding in that page. So if I go back to live view, it'll show up a little bit more realistically. And there you go, I've got that space there. That's the padding. So I just wanted to show you that real quick. Again, we'll probably see a different video for the CSS Designer panel, but if you don't, then that's kind of how that works. You just select the element you want to select over here, and then edit the properties over here in the CSS Designer panel. Okay, I believe that does it for this video, and I will see you again next time.